US Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth has told NATO leaders that the Pentagon is going to conduct a review of its force presence in Europe within the next 6 months. Dave, much more positive vibes, despite that, from Hegseth came out of that G7 summit, notably over Ukraine, didn't it?
Yeah, there was for sure relief yesterday when Donald Trump did not push back against defending Ukraine as he had in the past, and that he signed that final communique which called for continued defense of Ukraine. The big question is whether that represents a shift in the Trump administration's policy, or Trump was simply distracted by the Iran war and wasn't all that engaged on the subject of Ukraine at that summit. When I talk to people here in Brussels, they suspect it's the latter. And they also think that today, at this meeting of defense ministers at NATO, Pete Hegseth, the U.S. Secretary of War, Secretary of Defense, will try to walk that back, try to make clear that the U.S. still does not have any intention of resuming monetary, financial, logistical support for Ukraine, that this is a job for the Europeans. But they're waiting for signals from Pete Hegseth. I mean, he has come in to these defense summits in the past very aggressive in terms of tone and very rancorous, these discussions. So you might think they don't want him there, but actually they're when you talk to people, they're actually seeing it as a good sign that he's even shown up, because both he and Secretary of State Marco Rubio have decided to skip these NATO ministerial meetings over the past month. So the fact that he's coming back, they're at least interpreting as a good sign that the U.S. is willing to engage with NATO.
In the meantime, Dave, we also have the NATO Secretary General, Mark Rutte, before this meeting, playing down the importance of the Trump administration's decision to cut back the number of troops it would supply should a NATO country be attacked.
Yeah, this is a point that we heard in that soundbite there. Pete Hegseth was stressing again as he came in. So this concerns the amount of troops that would be deployed if Europe was attacked, assumedly by Russia, the amount of troops that would be ready to go right away to defend Europe. And Hegseth's argument is that now that European countries are increasing their defense budgets, they should be able to have that initial deployment phase. Now, the U.S. government is saying this doesn't necessarily mean anything for the long-term defense of European countries if they were attacked. This concerns the amount of troops that are there initially, the amount of troops that are based here in Europe. However, there is a limit to how much they can actually draw those down, because by a congressional law, there has to be a certain minimum of troops based here in Europe. So Mark Rutte really defending that decision, saying that it doesn't represent the U.S. pulling back, that simply it's a recognition of the reality that European countries are more prepared to do the defending themselves if they are attacked.
Dave, we're just going to wrap up by talking about something that's just coming into us here at France 24. This is from the Israeli Foreign Minister, Gideon Saar, saying that he is severing all contact with the EU Foreign Policy Chief, Kaja Kallas. Apparently this is after remarks that she made comparing Israel to apartheid-era South Africa.
Yeah, exactly. There has been kind of a revolving scandal around this in Brussels over the past 2 weeks. There's been a bit of a coordinated attack on the EU's High Representative for Foreign Affairs. We had a report that was strangely interpreted by some media outlets, let's say, saying that maybe she should be sacked or the position should be eliminated, and that the entire EU Foreign Service should be restructured. And in that context, this news leaked that months ago, she made these comments during a meeting in Mexico City where she compared the Israeli treatment of Palestinians to apartheid in South Africa, a comparison that's been made by many others, including former President Jimmy Carter in a book. Now, people are asking questions about why this information was sat on for so long, why it happened to come out now as we're having this otherwise coordinated attack on the EU's High Representative. There are suspicions that it's coming from other people in the EU's hierarchy over turf wars, over power battles. But certainly it has caused this collateral damage here, where the Israeli foreign minister is saying that he's cut contact with her. For Kaja Kallas's enemies, this is going to provide them fodder to say that she is stepping too far out of bounds from the positions of EU member states and that she should be replaced. There were always a bit of concerns about her as a former prime minister of a Baltic country, very strong feelings about Russia on her part, that she has focused too much on Russia, let other foreign policies not be concentrated on as much. So it'll be interesting to see the reaction here in Brussels from those within the other EU institutions who don't like her and would like her to be replaced.